Dear students, welcome to this session. In this session, we will do the lab program number 5, and the lab program number 5, it is about the electricity bill generation, and here is the problem statement. An electricity board charges the following rates for the use of electricity. For the first 200 units, 80 paisa per unit. For the next 100 units, 90 paise per unit, and beyond 300 units, rupee 1 per unit. All users are charged a minimum charge of 100 rupees as a meter charge. If the total amount is more than rupees 400, then an additional surcharge of 15% of total amount is charged. Write a program to read name of the user, number of units consumed, and print out the charges. So we have to generate a electricity bill where it will display what is the name of the customer. So we are going to read this customer name as a input of the program, and we are going to read number of units consumed by the user as the input of the program, and then according to this the slabs, whatever the tariffs given according to these slabs, we will do the calculation considering the minimum charges. If the amount is greater than 400, then we will put additional surcharge of 15%. Doing all those things, we will print out what is the total bill amount or the charge. So first we will understand the problem statement clearly. So what is the problem statement? The problem statement is, we have to generate a electricity bill. For that, what are the input we need? The input that we need is the customer name. We need a customer name, and we need number of units consumed by the user. Once we have a number of units consumed by the user, then we will calculate the tariff. Okay, we will calculate the what is the total bill amount. And how the bill amount is calculated is for the first 200 units. Means, let's say if user is using 0 to 200 units, right? How much we should charge him? We have to charge him rupees 0.80 per unit, per unit. So I will go back to the problem statement. For the first 200 units, means 0 to 200 units, 80 paisa, just I converted it into a rupee. 80 paisa is what? 0.8 rupees per unit. So this is not rupees, it is rupee 0.8 rupee per unit. So let's say a user uses 100 unit. How much we should charge him? 100 into 0.8. Okay, so let's say a certain user uses 100 units. 100 into 0.8 is equal to, we have to charge him rupees 80, right? That is how the calculation. And let's say a user is using more than 200 units. So if user is using 0 to 200 units, he will be charged 0.8 rupees per unit, and that is how the total amount is calculated. If he is exceeding 200, so he has to pay higher price for the next 100 units. So what do you mean by the next 100 units? From 201 to 300 units. So let me confirm that. Okay, so how much he will be charged? For the next 100 units, 90 paise per unit. So from 201 unit to 300 units, he is going to pay a rupee 0.9 rupee or 90 paise per unit. Okay, per unit. That is how it is calculated. So now if a certain user is using 100 units, so his calculation is 100 into 0.8, then it is 80 rupees. The calculation is complete. Let's say a certain user is using I will just write down here, certain user is using, let's say, 250 units. So how you will charge this 250 units? The first 200 units should be charged at a 0.80 paise. That is, first 200 should be charged at 80 paise, that is 0.8 rupees. Then how much is the remaining? 250 minus 200, because 200 already we used for the calculation. So how much is 250 minus 200 remaining? Okay, that is 250 minus 200 is 50. That 50 will be charged at an 0.9. So how much this will come as? It will come as 200 into point is, I think it is 160. Okay, 160 rupees plus 250 minus 200 is 50. 50 into 0.9 is 45. Okay, that will come as 205. Okay, so this would be rupees 205. So if any user is using 250 units, so first 200 units you are going to calculate at 0.8. First 200 units 0.8. Next whatever is remaining up to 300. So how much is remaining? 50. Additional 50. That additional 50 is charged at a higher rate, 0.9 per unit. So this calculation would be 160 plus 45. That is how you get 205. Okay, the problem statement is not yet complete, so we will remove this part and we will see what is the next one. The next one is beyond 300 units. Means if user is using greater than 300 units, that is means 301. So 301 to whatever. So we don't know upper limit. There is no upper limit. He can use as much as he wants. So I would rather than writing this, I would say greater than, okay, greater than 300 and greater than 300 units, that we can say. Greater than 300 units. If the customer exceeds more than 300 units, he should be charged rupee 1 per unit. Rupee 1 per unit. So if it is between 0 to 200, 80 paise, and from 201 to 300 he should be charged 0.9 rupee per unit, and if it is exceeding 300 units he should be charged 1 rupee per every unit which is more than 300. So for example, we'll take a certain user uses 350. Okay, certain users uses 350 units. How to calculate this? So what is the total number of units? 350. So first 200 should be calculated at 0.8. So 200 into 0.8 and plus. So already we have calculated for 200. How much is remaining? 350 minus 350 minus minus, we have to consider up to 300. So if we already out of these 350, 200 has been used. How much is left? Actually we'll do that. So how much is left? 150 is left. So out of that 150, so 0 to 200, this is the 0 to 200, then 200 to 300, how much is that? That would be like 100 units into, okay, 100 units into 0.9, and after that plus, so 200 into 0.8. so we calculated this at this slab, and what is the next slab? 201 to 300, that is total 100 units. So that is charged at 0.9. so how many total units we calculated? 200 plus 100, total is 300. How much is remaining? Still 50 is remaining. That remaining 50 will be charged at rupee 1. so this is how we get the what is the actual value. So if we calculate this, 200 into 0.8 we get it as 160, and 100 into 0.9 we get it as 90 rupees, plus 50 into 1 is 50. so this is the total amount. How much is this? 160 plus 90 is 250, plus 50 is 300. okay, this is the total charge we are going to bill for that particular customer who used 350. okay, now the problem statement is not yet complete. We have still a few more things to consider. Now if 0 to 200 units, 0.8 per unit, 201 to 300 units, 0.9, more than 300 units we are going to charge rupees 1 unit. Now there are additional things that we need to take care. All users are charged minimum of rupees 100. so irrespective whether user uses 0 unit or 400 units, every user will be charged with a minimum charge of 100 rupees. so what is the minimum charge? Minimum charge is equal to rupees 100. so this rupees 100 is charged to every customer. Let's say a certain customer uses 0 units. 0 into 0.8 is 0, but still he need to pay the meter charge. Minimum is 100 rupees. okay, that is one more condition. And one more condition is there. If the total bill amount, so if the total bill amount is more than 400, then additional surcharge of 15% of total amount is charged. so what is that? If total bill amount is greater than rupees 400, so then what that means? There is additional 15% surcharge. okay, so 15 surcharge. so let's say if let's say we give some units so that the amount will exceed. Let's say the amounts will come as 500. now we check the 500 amount is greater than rupees 400, so there will be an additional surcharge of 15%. so user has to pay, how much he has to pay? He has to pay 500 plus 15% of 500 as additional. so what is 15% of 500? This is nothing but you can say 15 divided by 100 multiplied by 500, or we can say this is 15 divided by 100 is 0.15 into 500. this is the amount the user has to pay. okay, so 500 plus 0.15, 15% of the total amount. If total amount is 700, 700 plus 0.15 into 700, that is the total amount he has to pay. so whatever the amount comes here, that he has to pay. so how the customer bill should show? Suppose if the customer name is Venkat, it will show Venkat, and number of, okay, here you can display it any way you want, but at least this is the information that should be present. Customer name Venkat and number of units used number of units used. Let's say for argument simplicity I will take 100 units. So bill amount, how much would be bill amount? We know that if it is 100 units, 100 into 0.8, 80, and minimum charge is 100, 80 plus 100, 180. So rupees 180, that is how the bill. So what this is how your output should look like. This is what the output, this is the output. And what is the input we need? The input we need is the customer name and number of units. And what is the processing we have to do? This is the processing steps we have to do, and the same logic is implemented in the program. Now let us see the program. Okay, so this is the program. Okay, so we will begin the program with hash include stdio.h. This will include the standard input output header file into our program. Then main, pair of parentheses, pair of empty parentheses, open curly brace. This marks the start of the program. And this is the declaration section. What is the declaration section? Whatever the variables I want to use in my program, all those variables I am going to declare here. So what are the variables I am going to require in my program? The first one is I am going to require a array. So this is an array of characters. I hope it is already covered. If it is not covered in the class right now, you can assume this is a string. So character is a character data type you already know. This represents any character that is available in the all the available character set. So what is the character set? Character set is it can be either the digits 0 to 9, alphabets, lowercase, uppercase. It can be any of the special characters. So we know the complete character set. So this variable, any variable of type character can hold one character. The C name and square brackets 50. This is nothing but this can hold 50 characters. Okay, and each character can be accessed by a index. Okay, so this will have a index 0 to 49. So here this is the name that we are going to store. For example, we took the example as a Venkat. So that Venkat is a set of character that would be stored in the C name. Right now if you array is not covered, just you can think this is a set of character. So C name will hold set of characters. So whatever the name, when we give the customer name, it is nothing but the set of characters that can be stored in the variable called C name. So it is a array variable which holds the group of character elements. Next we have a floating type, a data type, and here what we have done is whatever the requirement we had, in the requirement we they had given different slabs, right? From 0 to 200 we have 80 paise, and next 201 to 300 we have 90 paise. More than 300 we have 1 rupee. I have made three variables: slab 1 rate. So SLAB slab 1 R means rate. Slab 1 rate is equal to 0.8, which represents this 80 paisa. Slab 2, I have made this as slab 1. The next 100 units is slab 2. More than 300 is slab 3. So slab 1 rate 0.8, slab 2 rate 0.9, slab 3 rate 1. And minimum charge, what is the minimum charge? 100 rupees. And what is the surcharge? the name of the variable is surcharge. So these are the name of the variables, is equal to 0.15, which represents the 15%. And I have one more variable, bill amount. All these variables are of type float. Okay, so slab 1 R variable, slab 2 R variable, slab 3 R variable, minimum charge variable, surcharge variable, bill amount variable, or all are of type float, and these are the initial values I have given. The advantage of programming in this way is, instead of using the 0.8 in the calculation, okay, if you saw the calculation here, what we did in the calculation here, for example, I removed that. In the earlier calculation, when 100 units was there, 100 into 0.8 I did. So instead of 100 into 0.8, what we are going to do is 100 into slab 1 rate. So let's say tomorrow the problem statement changes. From 80 paise they will say first 200 90 paise, next 100 units 1 rupee, and after more than 300 it would be 1 rupee 20 paise. In that program I need not change the rest of the program. I will just change it here. Slab 1 or I will make it as 0.9, slab 2 are 1, and slab 3 are 1.2. Rest of my program will be unaltered. So it is a good way of programming. Instead of using these values directly inside the program, you can use one variable and assign their values. And even though better than this, once you understand what is the symbolic constant, you can make these as the symbolic constant, where these variables will not be changed. Once you learn about symbolic constant, that concept will come little later, then you can convert this program into this as a symbolic constant, or if you have the understanding of symbolic constant, that is sufficient. You can use the same program what is given. Now all these are the floating data type because that will have decimal point. Next, units is, it is a integer value. We are not going to take the units in fraction. Always units are given in the whole number, so I will have it as an integer. Next is what? Next is we have to read the customer name and number of units. Before reading the customer name, give a printf statement where it will display on the console enter customer name. So here customer name will be entered. So here in the scanf, if you notice, this CNAME is a array of characters, also called as a string. So this will read the set of characters. So it will read set of because we need to read a name. Name is nothing but a set of characters. It will read a set of characters. When we are reading into an array, the first thing is the format specifier we are going to use is %s. Scanf open parenthesis double quote %s double quote comma CNAME close the parenthesis and semicolon. So one more difference you notice here is we are not using the ampersand here. Whenever we have the array, so a string means whenever we have a set of characters, in this case it is a CNAME, the name of the array, string array itself is the address. So CNAME itself is the address. For now you just remember as is. When array is covered, it will be clear to you. So just make sure that CNAME doesn't have a ampersand. Now next, you got the name. User will enter, let's say he will enter it as Venkatesh and hit enter. After that you will prompt user enter units used. So what is the units? It is an integer. So %d ampersand units. Here we have to use ampersand. The next step is what? We have to check how much units is, because based on number of units we have to charge or calculate according to the slabs that are available. So if the given number of units is greater than equal to 0, so units can be 0, but units cannot be less than 0. If it is a less than 0, we are not going to do any kind of a calculation. So if units is greater than equal to 0 and units is less than equal to 200, means that satisfies this category 0 to 200. How much should be charged? 0.8 should be charged. So if units is greater than equal to 0 and units is less than equal to 200, bill amount. So bill amount is the variable where I am going to store the total amount. So bill amount is equal to units into slab 1R. Why slab 1R? We know that slab 1R is 0.8. So if, let's say for example, user gives it as 100, 100 is greater than equal to 0, true, and 100 less than equal to 200, that is also true. Then when this condition is true, it will come inside here. So bill amount is equal to 100 into 0.8, that is 80. 80 is stored in the bill amount. Let's say this condition is not true. So user has given more than 200. Let's take an example of 250. User has given 250. So 250 greater than equal to 0, true, and 250 less than equal to 200, false. 250 is not less than equal to 200. So this condition becomes false. When this condition becomes false, it will come to the else. Else, when it comes to the else, it is a else if ladder. Okay, so else if, again it will check the condition whether units, that is 250 greater than equal to 200, true, and units is less than equal to 300. So we have assumed 250, user has given 250. 250 less than equal to 300, that is also true, means this condition becomes true. User has given 250, so the this condition will become true. 250 greater than 200, true, and 250 less than equal to 300, true. How the calculation is done here? Bill amount is equal to, first 200 should be charged at a slab rate of 1. So 200 into slab 1 rate. Slab 1 rate is 0.8 plus number of units minus 200. Why we are doing minus 200? Because for that 200 already we have calculated, so that should be subtracted. Now for example, what we have taken is 250. So 200 into 0.8, 200 units is already calculated. Now 250 minus 200, so 50. Remaining 50 should be charged at a slab rate of 2. Okay. Now let's say user, this is how, if it is between 200 and 300, it will come here. The calculation is done for the bill amount. Let's say user has given 350. So when user has given 350, it will come here. 350 greater than equal to 0, true, and 350 less than equal to 200, false. So this condition is false, so it will come to else. Now 350 greater than 200, true, and 350 less than or equal to 300, false. 350 is not less than or equal to 300, so this condition is false. If this condition is false, it will come to the else. Okay, if this condition is false, it will come to the else. Now how the bill amount is calculated? Bill amount is the first slab. We have taken example, the units is 350. So first 200 into slab 1 rate. So slab 1 rate is 0.8. 200 into slab 1 rate plus next 100 into slab 2 rate. What is the slab 2 rate? 0.9. So how many units, units we have already calculated? 200 plus 100. So we have calculated for 200 plus 100, total 300 we calculated. How much is remaining now? Only 50 is remaining. So number of units minus 300. Number of units is how much? 350 minus 300, that is 50. 50 into slab 3 rate. What is slab 3 rate? It is 1 rupee. So that is how it will do the calculation, and that amount is stored here. So if you notice here, units minus 300. Why I am doing 300? Because for these 300 already I have calculated 200 here with a slab 1 rate, 100 with a slab 2 rate. So after this calculation we get the bill amount. So if you see the this if else ladder. After this if else ladder, we will have the bill amount calculated based on the different slabs. Then what is the next step? Once we have the bill amount is equal to bill amount plus minimum charge. Okay, add minimum charge to bill amount. When we say double forward slash, this is a comment. So this comment is only for your information. This is not an executable statement. So I told you there is a minimum charge. How much is the minimum charge? 100 rupees. So we have to, whatever the bill amount we calculated here, we have to add 100 rupees. So that's why. So if you see this minimum charge, I will show, we have initialized it in the declaration. Minimum charge is equal to 100. So what it will do is, it will add 100 rupees to the whatever the bill amount. Suppose let's say the bill amount has come as 100 rupees here, 100 plus another 100. So this will become 200. If it is 80, 80 plus 100, 180. If it is 400, 400 plus 100, 500. So minimum charge is added to the bill amount. Now next condition is what we have, if the bill amount is greater than 400. We have already seen that. So if you see here, if total bill amount is greater than rupees 400, there is an additional 15% surcharge. So we will come back to this. The bill amount after adding minimum charge and everything, if bill amount has become greater than 400 rupees, then if this statement is true, bill amount is equal to bill amount plus surcharge is how much? 0.15. So initially we have done the initialization in the declaration. So surcharge 0.15. If amount is, bill amount is greater than 400, bill amount is equal to bill amount plus 0.15 into bill amount. Suppose let's say this value bill amount, after all this calculation, it has come out as 1000 rupees. 1000 is greater than 400, true. So bill amount is equal to 1000 plus 0.15 into 1000. What is 0.15 into 1000? It is 150. So 1000 plus 150, 1150 is the bill amount after adding the surcharge. And let's say this bill amount is not greater than 400. Let's say user has used only 100 units. If user has used 100 units, 100 into 0.8, 80 plus minimum charge 100, 180 rupees. So 180. 180 greater than 400, false. Then we are not going to put the additional surcharge. So after this point, we have the final bill amount. Then what we will do is, we will display the electricity bill in a very nice, well formatted output. So this is a comment, display of charges, printf. I am putting some additional lines so that the output is well separated by all these inputs. And this is just for the formatting purpose. You don't have to do all these things. So some dashes with a new line, then printf. I am printing electricity board bill, again next line. So these are the three information which are important. Customer name, %s. So it is the same %s format specifier with for the character array or the string. So C name is the name of the customer variable which we have where we have taken the input of the customer name. Units used, it is a integer %d units. And total bill amount, what is the total bill amount? It would be in this variable, and that is a float, %4.2f or just %f, that is sufficient. And bill amount, after that some more dotted lines. This is just for the formatting. So this line and this line, that is just for the formatting, so that it will look as a dotted. Each bill will look separate. That is the intention of using this. And they are not functionally important. What is functionally important is customer name, units used, and total bill amount. Now we will see the output of this program. Okay. So I have told you before, we have to use all the possible inputs so that it will get into each of the conditions. So here we have first one, uh, after executing the program, enter customer name. I have entered it as a Peter. Enter number of units used, 180 units. 180 units means what? It is less than 200. So this 180 will be charged at an 0.8 and with additional bill amount of 100 rupees. So you will get the output like this. Okay, these are the dotted lines. Electricity board bill, customer name Peter, number units used 180, total bill amount 244. The next example is 250. Number of units is used 250. So we will have two blocks here. One is the slab 1 rate for 200 units and 50 for the slab 2 units, and this is the output we are going to get. Next output. Okay, so customer name Peter, number of units is 450. So when we say 450, it is greater than 300. So this is the third case. We have all the three slabs applied here. First 200 units 0.8, next 100 0.9 rupees per unit, then remaining 150 units at 1 rupee, and definitely in this case the amount will go greater than 400. Then we add additional surcharge. So Peter, number of units 450, total bill amount 575 rupees, and this includes the surcharge. You can do the manual calculation. That calculation should exactly match this, and if you are running your program after typing, make sure that whatever the output I am showing, it is showing the same outputs. And one more use case is customer name, and I give the units as 0. When units is 0, the total bill amount is 100. Why the total amount is 100? Because every customer has to pay minimum charge of 100 rupees, that is the meter charge.